I'm Richard Demery with the 135 group. We're here in Tucson, Arizona. Come on in, let's talk about a few things. I'd like to tell you about an experience that one of my clients had in Mexico. Hello. Come on in my office. I'll sit down and we'll talk about the trip that we had down there. My client's name was Tom. He was in the construction business. He had been working very hard for a long time and had accumulated a very profitable company, to the point that he had a home down in Mexico because he loved to fish, and I love to fish too. So he has a 210 Cessna, and he flew it down to Mexico, and we were having a great time fishing and having just a very relaxing time. One of his friends had an Aero Commander, a twin-engine airplane. So airplane talk, single engine, multi-engine. Let's take the multi-engine airplane and let's run down to Guadalajara and have a lunch. I wasn't invited on the trip. I was hoped that I had. I would have been, but I wasn't. So Tommy and his friend got in the Aero Commander and took off. Well, Tommy was excited to be flying a nice twin-engine airplane in the beautiful Mexico. And as they were going along, Tommy told me later on about the story, what happened. Told me that he was kind of watching the fuel gauges and didn't really understand the airplane because it was new to him, and certainly he hadn't flown a twin-engine airplane. So he was taking it all in kind of from a student standpoint. But he noticed that the tanks were bouncing, and that was kind of bothering him. So he said to his friend that was piloting it, how are we on gas? He assured him we're fine with gas, no problem. About that time, the right engine went out. But, went out. And Tommy says, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? He said, oh, I'm going to switch tanks, we're still okay. He switched tanks, and the left engine went out, but. And so then what do? Well, only thing you can do is land in a field. So they left the gear up, approached the cornfield, went over some power lines, and did a belly landing in the middle of the cornfield. Didn't hurt the airplane very much because it was a slick field, it had just been irrigated. But obviously it didn't do the airplane any good, and they both got out. But Tommy was injured, and he had a problem in his right side. So pretty soon, here comes the cops, and here comes an ambulance, and they say, we think we need to see you're bleeding. You probably need, and you're coughing now and coughing up a little blood. You really need to get into town. So they took him into the nearest town, and of course they put him in jail. So why are you putting us in jail? He says, because that's what we do when you have accidents down here. We have to figure out whose fault it was. He says, for heaven's sakes, let's don't worry about whose fault it was. Let's take me to the hospital. He said, no, we'll bring the doctor to you. So here he was in jail with the doctor to him, and obviously there was some bad situations happening. Luckily, he was able to call his manager, and his manager said, you know, the way we get this done, and Tommy knew that too at this point, is you offer them money to cover the cost of what you may have damaged. So they made an offer to him, to the owner, of $10,000. Well, they didn't have $10,000 on them, so they used their American Express card. So they got that, and they took him over to the hospital. The doctor looked at him and said, you're really bleeding. We're going to get the bleeding stopped. You've got a punctured lung. So we're going to get the bleeding stopped, and we'll send you back on an airliner. Well, he got to went right straight to the airport, got a flight up to Tucson, or Phoenix, I don't even remember which it was, but the nearest hospital that he could go to, and boarded the plane, and they said, no, you can't, with your visa, you can't get on, because your visa says you came here in a car. Where's the car? And he said, the car is sitting back in San Carlos, a long way from here. And I can't even go back to that because I'm bleeding, I need to get to a hospital. Well, again, I don't know how it came out, but with some amount of money changing hands, he was able to get up to the hospital. He had a punctured lung, and they repaired it, and he did recover. All of that could have been provided, at that time, probably couldn't have been helped too much, but in this day and age, all that could have been prevented by having a travel policy, having a lawyer on the policy, and having an air ambulance service. All of that could have been avoided. I hate to think in this day and age of somebody traveling to Mexico without taking the proper precautions to buy the proper medical insurance, travel insurance, etc., to get back in that kind of a situation. We have been working in Mexico for many, many, many years. I love Mexico. Would go there anytime I get a chance. But again, I want to be protected. Thank you.